Jay.
That's our show for the day. Thanks for coming out. Everybody wearing green gets a free water today. I was not authorized to say that, but a drink. It's St. Patty's celebration. There has to be some drinking. So, in fact, just a round of applause. How many of you are going to take part in the traditional Irish drinking festivities? So, really, nobody's going to join me at McDonald's for one of the Shamrock Shakes? So, see? I knew we would get you. So, I really want to thank you guys for coming out. It's the senior comedy show, so we're going to ask you a couple of house rules, if you will. I'm sure you guys all know where the facilities are because most of you are members. We're going to ask you to keep the conversation to a minimum. If you want to laugh as loud as you want. If you want to have a conversation, we're going to ask you to take it out into the hallway because the senior students, and let me point, the name of the show is not Seniors Doing Seniors, okay? It's Seniors Doing Senior Comedy. You have to add that last word, otherwise if you cut it off, the Wadsworth police will show up and we don't want all that. So, but they've worked hard for the past 5 weeks or so putting together their routines. If they ask you a question, they don't really want your answer, okay? They're just asking you to set up a joke, so you don't have to yell out, does anybody have a dog? Yeah, my dog's name is Spot. No, we don't need to do that, okay? So, but I ask you to encourage them. They say public speaking is one of the hardest things people can do. Only surpassed by trying to make strangers laugh at what you say. So it is a challenge. They've worked hard. They put in a lot of hours. So we ask you, do not heckle them. Like I said, if you want to have a conversation, take it out to the hallway. It's not Oprah. So I do want to thank you guys all for coming. I want to wish you a happy St. Patty's Day.
Put your phones on airplane mode.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Turn your phones off or put them on vibrate or... Because if your phone rings during the set, we will answer it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the number one rule, keep your laughter loud, your chatter to a minimum. Your chatter to a minimum.
Thank you. Fair minimum.
Otherwise, we're all just going to turn and point at you. In fact, if we have a group break out into a discussion, let's turn the camera around on them and give them a mic.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting there going, I can't believe what Doris is wearing today, it's going to be broadcast on WCTV. So, and if there is somebody named Doris, I just picked your name out of a hat, okay? Or I think you look lovely, Doris. All right, you guys ready to get some comedy going today? Oh, come on. I want them to hear you in the auxiliary room. All right. Well, we're going to bring up our first comic today. You know him. He's a regular here. He's been a volunteer for years. He's lived in Wadsworth for 26 years, and he was brought here by his lovely wife, Connie. Connie, where are you? Connie. There she is. So indirectly, Connie is responsible for what this next comic is doing. So give it up for Rich Homan.
Oh, yeah!
All right.
Go get him, brother. I'm going to steal my coffee.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
All right.
Mic's not on.
Oh, baby, show more.
Says it's on. It says it's on. Okay. Okay. Well, happy St. Patrick's Day. And we're here at the Soprema Senior Center. They're not hearing me.
Oh, baby.
Wow. How do we increase the...
Move this up a little.
Okay.
Okay, do a test.
Okay. Is that any better? Is that better? Yes? I'm hearing yes and no.
No in the back.
No in the back.
Just talk loud. What if we put it on the other side?
or I'll just handheld it. Any better?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let's start over. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Hey! Okay, we're here at the Soprema Senior Center. So it's not surprising that there's a lot of old people in the room. And I mean old. Okay? How do you know you're old? Well, some clues might be you knew the Dead Sea when it was only sick. Oh. You have body parts that hurt, and those that don't hurt don't work. And if you get together with some of your friends, invariably you start talking about body functions. There's 3 old men sitting on a park bench. The 80-year-old says, "When I get up in the morning, it takes me 20 minutes to pee." The 85-year-old gets up and says, "When I get up in the morning, I have to groan, strain, and grunt for 30 minutes before I have a bowel movement." The 90-year-old then says, 7 o'clock, I pee like a horse. 8 o'clock, I poop like a cow. And his 2 friends say, "So what's the problem?" 90-year-old says, "I don't wake up till 9. Okay. Now you're also old if you remember these childhood TV shows. One I used to watch was Captain Kangaroo. Remember, he always wore the big jacket and had these big pockets on the side, meant to look like a kangaroo's pouch. And the characters on the show were, of course, Captain Kangaroo, Bunny Rabbit, Dancing Bear, Mr. Moose, Grandfather Clock, and Mr. Green Jeans. Now, Mr. Green Jeans was a farmer. Now, I was watching back in the mid-late 50s, so what kind of TV was I looking at? Black and white. So I always sat there wondering, are Mr. Green Jeans' jeans really green? Or is Captain Kangaroo lying to us little kids? Ooh. Another show that I enjoyed watching, Barnaby. Remember, Barnaby always had the straw hat, and he had pointed ears years before Spock came along. Okay, and Barnaby would read stories, sing songs, play his ukulele, and he had a friend, Long John, the invisible parrot. Now, there were a couple things that bothered me about Long John. One, they had a perch off to the side, a swinging perch, that Long John sat on. It never moved. And whenever Long John talked, Barnaby looked like a baseball player chewing a big wad of tobacco. "Hey, Long John, what do we want to do today?" "Ah, ah." "Long John want a cracker." "Ah, let's read a story." "Ah, ah." Was there really an invisible parrot? Or was Barnaby lying to us little kids? Another show that I liked to watch was Woodrow the Woodsman. Now remember, he had a Beatle-type haircut, mustache, and he wore a Robin Hood-type outfit, and he carried a big axe that wasn't much more realistic than this. And his sidekick on the show was an elephant named voracious. Okay? And there were a couple of things that bothered me about voracious. All you ever saw on a TV screen was his trunk. And it looked like a cheap sock puppet. And whenever Voracious talked, he talked with the end of his trunk. Hey, Woodrow, it's a beautiful day. Let's play a game with all the kids. Was there really an elephant? Or was Woodrow the Woodsman also lying to us little kids? But there was one TV host that you could trust and believe in. Captain Penny. Now, Captain Penny was a train engineer, so he always wore an engineer's hat, red bandana, and a denim jacket. And he would read books, show short movies like The Little Rascals, and have guests like Jungle Larry and Safari Jane, who would bring on wild animals. But Captain Penny ended each and every show with the same words. And those words were, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all of the time. And if you know the next line, feel free to say it with me. But you can't fool Mom. Captain Penny was not lying to us little kids, because you can't fool Mom. So, thank you. And remember, here at the Soprema Senior Center, we're old farts, and we're proud of it. Thank you.
Keep it going for Rich. Rich,
Thank
good,
you.
good job. Good job. We'll just leave it here. All right, so anybody who wants to talk during a set? I'm armed now.
Get him, Woodrow.
Or if anybody needs lunch chopped up, we just set here, right? You want that cut? We can cut this for you. Slide it. We'll just,
Thank you.
no, okay. Rich, you did a great job.
Yeah.
Give it up for Rich. And you guys are doing great too. I appreciate your courtesy and your hospitality. And to the folks in the auxiliary room, hi again. Hello. The last time we did a show here in November, we played a little practical joke on the auxiliary room, where while we were filming it, I would like freeze, and then I forget what, whiskey sour was the punchline. So they're in there, they're watching on TV, and all of a sudden I stop. We wait a couple seconds, and I go, whiskey sour. And everybody in this room just laughed like it was the greatest joke they ever heard. So we had to go tell them in the other room afterwards. They didn't miss anything. We were just playing a joke. So you guys got the VIP seating today, so congratulations. Make sure you tip the maitre d'. So if he's going to be speaking French, we're leaving. It's St. Patty's Day. So are we ready? Okay, our next comedian, I'm really proud of her because she wasn't going to do this. And at the last minute, she said, you know what? I am going to do this because I'm funnier than every other comic here. And she didn't really say that. I'm just ad-libbing here. But she's recently retired after serving 37 years as United Methodist pastor. Yeah. I mean, she gave her life to God, and now she's giving it to you, huh? So if anybody deserves respect, it's going to be our next comic. So put your hands together for Lori Burdett Steele. Lori? Go get him. You'll do great.
I grew up in a large church. I thought all churches had 1,200 members, but evidently not, because when I became a pastor, the churches I served were a lot different. And one of the ways I could tell was how they celebrated holidays. So when I was living in the Mahoning Valley, I went in and it was Mother's Day. And the tradition in that church was all of the mothers in the congregation were given a flowering plant. So after the service, one of the women came up to me and she handed me a flower. And I looked at her and said, "But I don't have any children." And she said, "Yeah, but you're the mother of us all." I'm not really sure how she meant that. It was in that same church we had a young couple that came every Sunday and brought their little boy with them. They'd get up on Sunday morning and they'd say, "Graham, come on, we're going to church and see Jesus." I'm not sure how old he was when he finally realized I'm not Jesus. I don't look anything like the stained glass window. Maybe I should have grown the beard. It was in another church that I was taking my Sunday afternoon nap, and if you didn't know that, your pastors do that too. Phone rang, and it was the chairman of the board. That always makes me a little nervous. And he said, "Pastor Lori, my little Grace has just been bawling her eyes out ever since we got home from church." I said, "Well, Dennis, that's terrible. What's the matter?" She said, "I can never be a pastor like Pastor Lori." I said, "Why not?" "'Cause I don't have red hair." I offered to send one of my bottles over, but I'm not sure he understood what kind I meant. Last I heard, little Grace had settled on her second choice of careers. And as far as I know, Dr. Grace still doesn't have red hair. But not all of the children that I've worked with over the years have been part of the church. One of the things as a pastor is we are encouraged to get involved in community service. And so during the years that we lived in Mount Gilead, every Tuesday morning, I volunteered in a first grade classroom. Any retired teachers here? Well, I went in every Tuesday morning, and so it was one January morning. I went in, and the children were all excited because they'd had that 3-day weekend. Yep, Martin Luther King Day. So my assignment for that day was to read a book to the children about Dr. King. And at the end of the book, I closed it, and I shared with the children my personal memories. That I remembered hearing him give speeches, and I remembered when he was assassinated and watching that funeral procession on TV. And they were all in awe. They had no idea I was that old. So then, you know what happened in February. It was another one of those 3-day weekends before I came in. They were all excited. They'd been off for President's Day. And so when I walked in the classroom, they all came running up to me, Pastor Lori, did you know Abraham Lincoln too?" I love other people's children. But as much as I've enjoyed working with the children through the years, that was not my favorite part of ministry. Now, some people think I'm a little weird, and even more people think I'm really weird. But my favorite part of ministry has always been funerals. When we were living in Tiffin, I got a call one day from my friend, Phil, the funeral director. He said, "Lori, we've had a death up in Green Springs. I know your other church is up there. This family doesn't have a pastor. Could you do the funeral for me?" Oh, I would have done anything for Phil. So I said, "Fine. Give me the information for the widow, and I'll give her a call." I called her and set up an appointment to meet with her to plan the service. And then I thought, everybody in my church up in Green Springs probably knows these people. I'll just call them and find out what they know. After a few phone calls, what I found out was he was the town drunk and he beat his wife. Now, when I was a senior in high school, my grandmother died. And my mom said, that preacher didn't even say her name once. And so when I was ordained, I made a promise to my mom that I would never have an impersonal funeral. But this one was going to be a tough one. So the next day I went to visit with the widow. And at the end of my time with her planning the service, she had had 2 positive things to say about her late husband. His drinking buddies were going to miss him, and his dog liked him. I hope you all leave your pastors and priests with something more positive to say than that. But you know, it's not just about the funeral service itself. Sometimes the adventure comes in the trip to the cemetery. In my first church, I was having a funeral in the city of Salem. But the burial was in a cemetery in Cleveland. Now, this was before GPS, and I don't know my way around Cleveland. 40 years later, I still don't. So I knew it was really important for me to stick with the procession. So I don't know if you know how processions work for funerals. It's the lead car is usually the funeral director driving the limo, and then the pastor goes in the next car, and then the hearse, and then the family and friends. So we pulled out of the funeral home in Salem, and we got out through the city streets, got out to the highway, and the limo took off. And I took off behind him. And he kept going faster and faster. And I thought, I can't lose him. I have no idea where we're going. Pretty soon I looked in the rearview mirror. I couldn't even see the hearse. I thought, I sure hope that driver knows where we're going, because I'm not waiting for him. That's when I decided I'm not driving my own car anymore. From then on, I rode in the limo with the funeral director. But that doesn't always work either. See, you know, I mentioned a few minutes ago my friend, funeral director Phil. Well, we had a lot of adventures together, but probably the most interesting was one day we were going to a cemetery that he had never been to. That was pretty hard to find because he knew everybody. Now, that was back in the day when we had police escorts. So when we pulled out of the funeral home parking lot, it was the sheriff's deputy, and then the limo, and then the hearse, and then the family, and then the friends, all going out in the middle of nowhere in the cornfields of Northwest Ohio to do the burial in the cemetery. So we go through the streets of the village of Green Springs, and then we go out to the county roads, and then to the township roads, weaving and turning through the cornfields, when all of a sudden, the deputy's car makes a turn and takes off. And so we turned and followed him, and the hearse turned and followed us, and all of the mourners are following us for a couple of minutes until Phil said, "Oh, I think he got an emergency call, and we're on our way to the scene of the crime." Thank you, folks. I'm Pastor Lori, and I put the fun in funerals.
Good job, Lori. Lori Burnett! Lori Burnett Steele. Got those multiple hyphenated names, so when you, if you catch one of Lori's sermons sometime, if you go see her at a comedy show, you don't have to go to church. So a lot of people don't know that, but it works that way for her.
You can't tell the difference.
You can't tell the difference, are you? So again, you guys are doing great. The next comedian can't perform today. She had to leave, but I want to acknowledge her because she was at all the classes and she worked really hard. And I'd like you guys to just give a round of applause to Anita Bowman. This lady comes walking in, you guys are applauding, and she's like, "Did I win? Am I the 100th customer?" Shamrock Shake, there you go. Shamrock Shake's for everybody. So, yeah, just go to the Wadsworth McDonald's and say, "Jay Bach said we're here for a free Shamrock Shake," and they'll go, "Who? Jay who?" So no, that's great. Okay, our next comedian.
Don't need a mic.
He probably doesn't need a mic. He probably needs no introduction because I'm sure you guys know who he is. But he's been I was going to say breath of fresh air, maybe long-winded is a better phrase to use. But from the studios of WCTV, who's recording this, shout out to WCTV, and the great nephew of Jim Dull. I've never introduced a comic that when I mentioned another comic's name got a bigger applause. So this is historical. But give it up for, I was going to say Jim, Roger Polk. Jim will be next. Roger, go get him, brother.
Thank
Good-
you.
good
Thank
job.
you very much. Well, I'm going to have to admit, I'm a little taken aback. I wasn't able to make the 4 rehearsals up here because I had to work. And so Uncle Jim has been telling me it's just like American Idol. It's American Idol. He says, learn so $600 for a guitar, $300 in singing lessons and guitar lessons, and it's not like American Idol at all. You're still my favorite uncle, Jim. My family growing up, trying to come up with something funny. Our family's so unfunny. There's nothing funny about my family. My brother, most of you know Ted. We come here, we play bingo and everything. Yeah. So this is our Uncle Jim. We grew up with growing up, we thought it was Great Uncle Jim. It was always Great Uncle Jim, Great Uncle Jim. And finally, I've got to learn to do basic math, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, if Great Uncle Jim is your brother, how is he our Great Uncle Jim? And she goes, oh no, he just likes to hear all you kids call him great. So he's raised you. So I found that out yesterday. I thought, that just didn't make any sense. But yeah, Ted and I growing up, I mean, had pet names. Uncle Jim had pet names for everybody. I knew he loved fishing. He always used to call me Sheephead. Hey, Sheephead. And finally, Ted tells me it's a fish. Uncle Jim likes to fish. I'm like, oh, that's what I thought it was something else for a time there. But always been proud of Great Uncle Jim. We were basically raised on his knee, telling us stories and everything. Most of you know he's a veteran in the military. Ended up, yeah, how about that? Ended up in the Air Force, right? But I'm going to get over here. Oh, I'm seeing now. Sorry. You know? And the funny thing is, yeah, that TV screen adds 50 pounds. Easy. And Lori and Tammy even said, stay over here a little bit because it's a much better background to have that in the background than over there. So, okay, here I am. But anyhow, the stories and the things that our Uncle Jim told us growing up. We went to, Ted and I and Uncle Jim went to Pennsylvania one time. And of course, all the great names that he had, for even my older brother, right? He's got great names for me too when I was a kid growing up. Yeah, so we going to buy an air conditioner or something that Uncle Jim had found online or whatever it was. I don't know. And at the top, you know the mountains in Pennsylvania? Man, they go up and down. And the sign, like 27% grade, you know, and no engine brakes. Well, we get to the top of this hill in Pennsylvania. We look over, this big yellow sign. Uncle Jim pulls right over, opens the door, and says, get out. And I said, what are you talking about? And he says, sign says right there, you can't come any further. Get out, we'll pick you up on the way back. I get out, him and Ted, woof, off they go. 6 hours. 6 hours I stand on the top of that hill by this yellow sign that says, no brake retarders. And I thought, okay, that's pretty close. Yeah. So they did come back and pick me up. Don't worry, they did come back, pick me up. Luckily, I'm starving. They went to McDonald's, had the Big Mac box. Yeah, all I had was shredded lettuce. That's all, shredded lettuce. Not even any of that Big Mac sauce. You could, nothing. So that's kind of my life. I love my Uncle Jim. Ted and I, he's our favorite uncle. We got 6 uncles. Uncle Jim is our favorite uncle. He's the one that actually got me to come here and sign up and do stuff here once I retired. So, like I said, in the military, he didn't start out in the Air Force because when Uncle Jim first joined the military, they didn't have branches. It was just you fight for the colonies. So, always very proud of our great Uncle Jim. Later on, you can imagine, though, more realistic, he fought in the big war for the North. So, little gray and blue action going on there. When he got his Air Corps training, though, it was in, he tells us, hot air balloons is what they started out with. So, Uncle Jim tells the stories, they put him in a hot air balloon, and they've got like 100 bottles of Jack Daniels with rags in them. They say, you go up, when the wind blows you over the enemy, light it, drop them, firebomb the enemy. You know my Uncle Jim. Everybody knows Uncle Jim Dull. He couldn't hurt a fly, right? Nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Loudest guy, nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. And so he never hurt a fly, right? So he's got a great Jack Daniels bottle collection. It's worth millions to this day in his basement. Yeah, he said sometimes he'd fly for days before things down, but he said some of the flights he doesn't even remember. I get that. Uncle Jim knew everybody. I mean, you can imagine, right? He tells us stories of at the Alamo, Uncle Jim knew Jim Bowie. Knew him personally. Matter of fact, he says he was at the Alamo when the first few Mexican soldiers started appearing. All right? And he says that Jim Bowie gave him a letter. And he says, Uncle Jim, I mean, that's how he tells us the story. You must go with great haste northeast to D.C. Go to the President of these United States. Give him this letter, and I will give you my Bowie knife to show that this letter comes from me. He says, with great haste, you must go. And so, for 6 months, my Uncle Jim fighting off Indians, winter, everything, right? Finally, he arrives in Seattle. So that's kind of my thought too. But to this day, he still has that letter and that knife, right? And so I remember looking at the knife when I first saw it, and I says, Uncle Jim, why does it say Buck on the blade? And he said, those of us that knew Jim Bowie personally, that was a nickname we gave for him. He said, that's why it says Buck on the blade. And I said, well, what about this letter? He goes, I never did open that up. Open it up, and it says, send help, being overrun. So I don't know how that turned out, but Uncle Jim, never to shirk his responsibilities, mailed that to Trump yesterday. So, all right, I'd like to hear that. A lot of great exploits. I could stand up here and run over my time and tell you these kind of things, but let me just say that when he was leaving Europe and all his buddies and stuff in the military were coming back, right, he had a choice. He could go by boat or he could go by a blimp back then. So he said he did not go by boat because Noah said you had to buy 2 tickets. So he said, wasn't going to do that. So eventually the dirigible or the blimp or whatever, they got in that, him and his buddies, drinking. He says all the way back it was a great time because nobody dropped their Jack Daniels. He said everybody saved it. They actually powered the blimp. He said it was like 500 miles an hour across the Atlantic. They got over here. He said the ride was great. He said, I don't remember a whole lot about some of the ride. He said the landing was a little bumpy, but when the Hindenburg finally settled down, he said we got here, no problem. Yeah, so I'm very proud of my Uncle Jim. We went to Subway on First Friday. It was Uncle Jim and my wife and him and Kim. It was Substation. It was a substation downtown. It was Substation, yeah. And so we're sitting there and we're eating dinner and everybody's coming in and out and whatever. And all of a sudden, in comes a grizzly bear, a porcupine, and a chicken walking into the substation, right? And we're looking at this and everyone got real quiet. And Uncle Jim, he leaned over and he whispered to me, he says, hey, Roger, which one you think that grizzly bear is going to eat first? My time's up. I got to go, everybody. Jim Dull's next. He'll tell the story a lot better than I could. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The great Roger Polk.
Yep.
It's up to you if you want to refer to him that way going forward. But quick commercial here. Since we had a former pastor entertain, this is available. Called Jesus Does Stand Up. So if you think these are funny, you need to check out this book. It's available on Amazon, and I wrote it. Jay Bach's my stage name. Brian O'Connell's my real name. Now you know I'm really Irish. So if you're interested in this, it's Amazon has. I think you can order it at most major bookstores, and I think there's a place in Medina that carries it. So I will tell you, this is the only book you'll ever read that talks about Jesus, Scripture, Shrek, the Three Stooges, John Lennon. So I'm not making fun of the Bible. I'm finding the funny in the Bible. So I know some groups that, oh, thank you guys. See, when you keep them cornered for 5 weeks, they applaud anything you say. So, but I know some some church groups and some prayer groups are actually using this as a little bit of a guideline because it encourages you to read more scripture. So if you're interested, it's out there. Okay, I really truly feel this next comic does not need an introduction because he's following Roger. So give it up. Don't leave, Jim. Give it up for Jim Dahl. Love the shirt.
As usual, I got to take over for Roger Polk, right? I got to finish this story, okay? So the Wadsworth grizzly bear comes in. They get porcupine, a chicken, and which one's he going to eat first? When he goes over the porcupine, he don't eat the porcupine, these sharp needles. The chicken, everybody's had so much chicken, you don't need any more chicken. So he takes a bite out of Roger Polk's ass, okay? And then he spits it out. You know why? It tastes like bullshit, okay? I've known Roger Polk for a long time. He's all bullshit. That story you just heard was bullshit. Everything is bullshit. I ain't related to him no way, no how. I've known him for years and we don't get along because I got a personality and he don't. And there we go. It's not Roger Polk, it's Roger Puke. Roger Puke. Roger Puke. Terrible situation, terrible. I normally don't tell jokes because I can't remember jokes because I'm old. I forget things. But I heard two of them yesterday, so I'm going to try these out for you. Two blondes walking down the banks of a river, one on each side of the river. One turns to the other one and says, "How do I get to the other side?" The other one goes, "You are on the other side." Two 60-year-old, a couple married, they're 60 years old. Both of them are 60. They go down and they're on the beach. They're in love, they're holding their hands. They go down, they see a Aladdin's lamp. They grab it and they rub it. And Aladdin comes forward and says, "I give you each a wish." Oh my gosh. What do you, and then the woman goes first, she says, "I want to be on a deserted island with my husband." Oh, boof. She's on a deserted island with her husband, both of them there. He asked the guy, "What do you want?" "I want my wife to be 30 years younger than me." Poof! He's 90 years old. The rest of my stories are about my family, my grandkids, my kids, and me. So bear with me on some of these, okay? I got two grandkids in Indiana, a boy and a girl. The boy's name's Jordan, the girl's name's Jalen. The boy's Jordan, his best friend is named Jordan. All these stories are true. His best friend's named Jordan. Jalen marries another guy by the name of Jordan. So that's three Jordans. Her husband's brother's name is Jalen. These Hoosiers, honest to God. Crazy. So when I go out there, I go, "Hey, Jay!" Somebody answers. I don't know who it is. So I took my grandson, when he turned 21, I took him to BW3s. His birthday is in February, so it was really cold. BW3s was really packed, but we found a place, and we were walking up there. He gives me a bunch of bull, and I push him down, you know what I mean? And he lands in the snow in an empty parking spot. So he's laying there and pretend like he's hurt, and this car comes by, and an old lady rolls the window down and says, "Is he okay?" And I said, "Yeah, he will be eventually." And she goes, "Well, can you pick him up and move him so I can park my car there?" My other grandson here in Ohio, Gavin, this is when he was 11 years old. I had to go to Kohl's to buy a shirt. I took him with me. I went in, found the shirt, went in, put it on, come back out. Gavin wore glasses then. I said, "Gavin, what do you think of my shirt?" "Grandpa, you reek of desperation." I put it back. One weekend, I had 6 grandkids I was watching here in Ohio. We had a lot of fun. We took them to Vinegar's every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They loved Vinegar's. They had a Blue Moon special going on that time. I guess that was blueberry ice cream, I guess. And they were getting that. They loved the Blue Moon ice cream. So they couldn't wait till Monday when their moms came home, and they says, "Hey, Mom, our poop is blue, and it's Grandpa's fault." My daughter Pam, when she first got her driver's license, on July 3rd, she got her driver's license. She went to go get gas at the Doylestown, Ohio station. The little station only had 2 pumps. So she pulled in. Wouldn't you know it, she bumped the first pump and knocked it off. So I knew the manager, Gordy, he's a great guy. So July 4th, he only had 1 pump. So on July 5th, he calls me up and says, hey, Jim, he says, next time your daughter wants gas, tell her to park out in the road and I'll do it for her. Man, did she get pissed when I told her that. One summer evening, my daughters, both of them, they grabbed a 4-pack of toilet paper, two of them. So eight rolls of toilet paper. I said, what are you doing? We're going to go TP houses, our friends' houses up the street. I don't know if they do that anymore, but they did then. So they went out. Next morning I get up, go out to get the newspaper. Had 4 trees in our yard. Toilet paper everywhere. So I got them up. I said, who TP'd at our house? She says, well, we went to the neighbors and all the friends and everybody was awake, so we TP'd our own house. Who in the hell TP's your own house? It was my daughters. On Sunday, on Thursdays, my wife used to go to a meeting. So she would either make the food, I'd make the food, or they'd run over to the neighbor lady and beg her to feed over there, which they did a lot. So this one day I said, I'm going to make a tuna fish sandwich. So I opened up a can of tuna fish, threw the mayonnaise in, put it on the bread, said, girls, your meal's ready. They come out and said, ah! And they ran to the neighbor ladies. Nobody told me I had to drain the oil off the tuna fish. So I picked the sandwich up and it looked like an oil pan leaking. I did make omelets one time with the leftovers in the refrigerator. I don't think the mushrooms were any good. Graduation night, I went to Barberton. Anybody know where Barberton is? Yeah, on the Magic. So we went, graduated from Barberton High School, and 5 of us guys were in the car. This one guy we knew had a 57 Chevy. He was so proud of that car. He worked on it all the time. I don't know how he graduated. He was always working on his car. So we went out. We had a couple of beers, and we go out driving. And Mother Nature took time. It hit in, so we all had to stop. So he was going uphill on a little street, and we all got out, all 5 of us, and went our way and did what we had to do and come back. Well, he came back looking at his car over, goes to the back of his car, he goes, damn it, my gas tank's leaking. So I went and touched it, missed it. It wasn't the gas tank. The guy in front of the car had a full bladder. My brother and I, he was 1 year younger than me, and he used to go out drinking a lot. And he'd come home, and Mom was always asleep. She never knew what time he'd come home. He always said he'd come home at midnight, which was a big lie. But anyway, our back door, it had a linoleum floor in a corridor. So this one night he went out, so I was collecting cans. So I got all these cans together, vegetable cans, food cans, pop cans. I had it stacked up. There must have been 50 cans stacked up in a pyramid shape. So he come home, opened that door up, and bang, 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 bang. Cans flying and rolling and everything. I said, Mom, Jared's home. It's 2:45 a.m. I owned a restaurant for a while. I had a wine license and everything. And New Year's Eve, we had a bunch of friends that we had there. And I said, hey, New Year's Eve, we'll have pizza, and I'll have some wine. Back then, they all drank Canai wine. Remember Canai? So they drank Canai Rosé. So I said, come on back. So there was an empty bottle of Canai. So I got that bottle. I filled most of the way up with water. I got red food coloring and kept dropping it in until I got to the right color. So I finally got the right color, put the lid back on, put it in the refrigerator. So New Year's Eve, they all sat down at the tables, 3 couples. And you know what it's like when you put something in your mouth, you know what it tastes like, but it ain't the right taste. Happy New Year. So I poured all the wine. They go, hey, poof, all over the tables and everything. It was great. Happy New Year. Yeah, for your friendly restaurant. I formed a group with 4 guys. We call ourselves the Losers Club. You had to be divorced and had little or no self-respect. Our symbol was this. This was our Loser Club right here. Our goal was to get more members. we used to go to a breakfast every Sunday morning at this little place in Barberton. And we went there, and 3 years after we started, they closed up. So we decided to disband. Still just 4 guys. That was it. That's all we could get. We never could come up with a motto or nothing else or a reason why you should join. But you know what this is right here? You know what that is? That's a loser in distress. That's what we were. A few years ago, I was in the theater group here. Some of the other people were too, and we were doing an Irish show, just like this, an Irish show. And Carolyn Barstow, a lot of you old timers remember Carolyn, and I was sitting over the chair over there with my kilt on and everything else, and Carolyn was going, oh, she's applauding. That's great. She was telling me to close my legs. So I work at a Holiday Inn here in town. I used to work full-time, now I'm part-time. One of my jobs, well, I'm going to tell this story first. One night, it was a wedding in town. 2:30 in the morning, this guy comes in drunk as a skunk. He said, I need something to eat. I said, I'll get you a banana or an apple here from the breakfast bar. He said, no, I need Taco Bell. Anytime people are drinking, they got to go to Taco Bell. You don't even know what the hell you're eating when you're sober, let alone when you're drunk. I says, Taco Bell was open 24 hours then. I says, you got to drive up. You can't walk up. And you can't drive, buddy. He said, I ain't going to drive. I'll walk up. I'll be okay. I said, no, I'll be okay, okay. So that was about 2:30. About 5:30, a police car comes back, drops him off. He comes walking in and says, I got public intoxication. I said, no shit. He said, I'll take that banana now. And he starts getting in the elevator. He turns around and says, this world's going to hell ever since Obama became president. I said, that's the reason you went to jail. That's it. And my job, too, I would go to airports and get people coming in from to go to the Holiday Inn. This one Sunday afternoon, I had to go to the Cleveland Airport. So I'm sitting at the Cleveland Airport waiting for the fare. As I pulled in, I noticed there was somebody standing by the door over there. It was an old guy with a beat-up old duffel bag and a Texaco shirt on. And when was the last time you saw a Texaco shirt? So he looked homeless. So anyway, our van had all the names on us, what we are and everything. And the guy walked over and says, where's Wadsworth? I said, well, buddy, it's down near Akron. He says, is it a nice hotel? I said, yeah, buddy, it's a real nice hotel. He says, I want to go to your hotel. I said, hey, buddy, you need a reservation. I ain't taking you to the hotel. He said, I'll make a reservation. I said, no, I'm waiting for a fare here, and then I'll take him down. He says, come on, I'll get. And he starts again. I said, buddy, get out, go. So I left. About 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It was the guy working at the hotel. So there's somebody up there that wants to ride down here and get a room. I said, I know who it is. I ain't taking him. He's homeless. We're going to get stuck with him. As soon as the door opened, then I noticed he opened up the back door. He's getting in the van. I said, buddy, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to the hotel. I got a reservation. I said, buddy, I'm waiting for a fare. You're not going down. He said, I got a reservation. I'm going. I said, buddy, get out. No, buddy, get out. Finally, I see a Cleveland policeman walking by, and I told him what was going on, so he kicked him out. My fare came. I'm halfway back to the hotel. Phone rings again. The guy from the hotel called and says, the guy you were supposed to bring down here is really upset with you. I said, I don't really care. He said, he's got one more thing he wants to tell you. I said, yeah, what? What do you want to tell me? He said, tell him I'm not his damn buddy. I give out Christmas gifts to certain people. I don't know how they get on that list, but they can't get off. And the gift has got one thing in common. It's always got my picture on it. This was a gift a couple years ago called Jim on a Limb. It was like a Waldo, okay? You take it around and pass it around and everything else like that. Jim on a Limb. Roger Puke over there tried to sell it. Called it Dick on a Stick. Yeah. I turned 80 years old last year. Had a great big party. You know, it was great. Family had a great big party. People come in. I turned 81 this year. Nobody gave a shit. It's just another day. You know, years ago when I was sitting with my dad watching TV, this is in the early 50s, Ed Sullivan Show, Elvis Presley come on. And we were watching it. My dad goes, "This world's going to hell." This year I'm watching the Grammy Awards and the halftime show of the the Super Bowl. I said, "This world's going to hell." A couple years ago, my friend back there, Karen back there, Karen back there, she's looking out the back door, so she's embarrassed. Karen and I went to Blossom, saw a show. We decided to get there early so we didn't have to walk that far. So when you get there early, what happens? It takes forever to get out. You got to sit there. So we're sitting there, and I see this woman walking around going. So she's walking away, and so she walks away. I peep the horn. She walks over, I peep the horn again. She comes back over to me, I peep the horn real soft. And she goes over. We had 10 minutes, and then we carried 10, 15 minutes of fun. Now I'm going to end on a little more serious note. Years ago, a woman gave me a poster, or a whatever this is. She gave me a poster to put in my apartment to remind me about the life and all the things that the world has, you know what I mean, and our goals in life and how to be a good person and how to experience life in the best way, you know what I mean? So she gave me this, and it has been dear to my heart all along, and it's made me a better person just to look at this thing every day. It says, "How can I miss you when you never go away?" Thank you. And the crowd roared.
Jim, and if I were his parents, his middle name would have been I'm certainly not. Jim Dull, everybody. Keep it going for Jimmy. He's always selling something. So, and for those of you who don't know, Jim is available to book for children's parties. So they'll never be the same, I promise you. You guys are a fun group. Thanks for coming out and celebrating St. Paddy's Day with us. We really appreciate it. And, ladies, you can't go yet. No, you... She gave me like a salute, but with only one finger. I don't know what she was saying, so... So before I bring up the next comic, I'm waiting for these ladies to... You're, okay, what's your name?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Bye, nothing.
Bye, nothing.
Bye, Cora.
Is he calling me nothing?
No, she said you were something. She said she was nothing, you're something. Thanks for coming, guys.
Certainly.
Okay, you guys ready to keep this going? This next comic says he's delighted to be here because at his age, he's delighted to be anywhere.
Amen.
He doesn't want me to give his last name. It has something to do with witness protection. I'm not sure about that. So give it up for John L.
All right, John. Woo!
Thank you, Jay.
Get him, brother.
Good afternoon, everyone. When I read about the senior stand-up comedy thing, I thought, hey, that sounds like fun. And it is. Until now. I called, spoke with Tammy. She was very helpful. Did the online application, got the welcome email, and swung in and met Lori. And then a few moments later, I was tagged. So now I'm reduced for quick sale? Then Lori says, we'd like to take your picture. Would you please step over to the camera? Wow, she's a lot nicer than the last officer. You're a little tall. You better step back some, Lori says. A little further. A little further. Now I'm plastered up against her office glass like I'm on a carnival ride. And she takes my picture, cuts my head clean off. Oh, that's okay, I didn't feel a thing. In fact, that might have been one of my better pictures. Bless her heart, Lori's got a hold of the screen. She's jacking it around, trying to put my head back on. And I said, I could get on my knees. Laughing as she comes around the corner, Tammy says, well, that would make for a different picture. And I'm thinking, it sure would, a picture of me trying to get off the floor. My second visit was our first class. So as I'm leaving, I notice a fellow in front of me, he scans his tag before he walks out the door. We were in class together. So I asked him, oh, do we have to pass out? And he says, well, that may cause a little hysteria. Best to just scan your tag. You can understand what I've been up against. Oh, in this first class, Jay, our commandant, gives us homework. Yeah. Says we're supposed to write 5 minutes of original material. How am I supposed to do that, Jay? Nothing's funny. I can't think of a thing until I laid down to sleep. Next thing I know, it's 3 in the morning and I have a 1-hour dialogue. Then I fell asleep and I dreamt I was a comedian. But it was weird. It was like an old black and white silent movie. And I had a revelation that 3 a.m. is not the optimal time to write humor. And I should not have had that bedtime burrito. Gizmos. I said to my grandson the other day, have you seen my newspaper? He says, Grandpa, people don't read newspapers anymore. They use a tablet. And he handed me his iPad. Fly never stood a chance. He's a sharp cookie, this youngest grandson, 7 years old. Way ahead of me at that age. When I was 7, I was chewing on Crayolas and trying to figure out how to trap the tooth fairy. It's hard to get anything past this kid, but I get a zinger in there now and then. We're talking on the phone the other day. He said, and I said, what did I say? Oh, talking on the phone the other day, and I said, do spiders have ears? And he says, you're being silly, Grandpa. Spiders don't have ears. I said, of course they do. How else are they going to wear glasses? Yeah. He quit taking my calls. I remember when our boys were little, high chair little, setting them up at supper time. They're all excited for the feed bag, little arms and legs flapping around, giggling and carrying on. Setting down small bowls of spaghetti and watching tiny fistfuls of pasta and sauce get crammed into happy little pie holes. I turned around. I'm getting the garlic bread out of the oven. Look back. They're zonked out, asleep. There they are, chins on their little chests, pasta hanging out of their mouths, sauce all over their face, fistful of spaghetti that didn't quite get there. Some of the funniest, cutest sights that ever make my eyes smile. That happened to me. Now I'm banned from Olive Garden. Hey, I was cute, damn it. Samuel Langhorne Clemens once said, wrinkles should merely indicate where smiles have been. And this from George Bernard Shaw. You don't stop laughing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop laughing. Amen. Thank you for your kind attention.
Nice work. John L. Keep it going for John L. John actually mentioned newspapers, and I want to share a quick story with you. I got 2 grandkids, and they call me Tito. And so the youngest one's always like, Tito, tell me stories when you were a kid. So I said, well, did I ever tell you guys a story when I was a paper boy? So they're like, what's a paper boy? So I'm explaining to him how I would get on my bike and ride through the neighborhood and deliver papers. And the older one looks at me and goes, so you were Amazon? So I wish I was making that up. So our next comedian's all the way from Youngstown. So he says about Akron he quits getting funny. But so if we were closer, he'd be funnier, he said. But he did say to tell you, he's hard of hearing, so he wants you to laugh extra loud. So give it up for my friend John Zimmerman.
All right, John.
They told me I had to do this. Okay. Hi, everybody. How you doing today? Good. I have a tablet. I call it an iPad, but my grandkids keep correcting me. And I'm on this tablet, and I joined Facebook. Anybody have Facebook? I'll probably see your picture tomorrow once Facebook GPS me and see that I'm here today. We'll be friends by Thanksgiving, I bet. Who knows? Of course, you can decline me. It's okay. I'm used to it. But anyways, I'm on Facebook most of the time. I've joined all the groups, so I have something to read because when you sit and you read and you have a good time and you're on Facebook. And I noticed after a while that Facebook starts to know your personalities. They know everything about you, right? You can't hide nothing from Facebook. And I found that out the hard way. Because I started noticing the advertisements. I read all the advertisements. I don't let anything slide by. I'm German, I got to read it. But I did notice that Facebook kind of got the wrong idea about me. Pretty soon it thought I was an overweight, wrinkly, maybe crazy lady. I don't know why they thought me as a woman, but it did. So I started getting advertisements for fake nails, which is okay. And then it started saying that maybe you should lose a little weight. I don't know where it got that idea. And wrinkles. I don't know. They wanted me to start buying wrinkle. I don't see any wrinkles, but it's okay. But the one thing that sort of upset me was, first it told me I could buy this thing to improve my posture. That's okay. And then it started telling me that I should get a bra, a wide bra. It's comfy, real comfy. You'll love it. And then it kept telling me week after week after week I should buy this thing. Pretty soon I'm convinced that maybe this is not a bad idea after all. And maybe I should be comfy at my age. And so I looked into it. And well, I'm not going to lie to you. I like the purple one. That was my favorite one. A little lace, little floral pattern on the front. I said, okay, I'm going to buy it just for around the house. So I sat back and I didn't know that you can't just say, give me a, medium. You can't do that. Ladies, I don't know how you ever figured the science behind this. So I did the math where you have to measure one, and that one you round up. And then you got to measure the other one. I'm not going to be too, I was raised by my mom. I wasn't allowed to say certain things. So you measure the other one, and then you subtract so you know what you got. So I measured, I was like 40, right. I was like 40, maybe not 40. I was 40 after the round up, and then I measured the other one. I was like 40, and then it came to 0. So I ordered a bra 40, and it said cup size. I didn't know what to do, but it said, I saw the 0, so I put O. It hasn't come in yet, or I'd be wearing it today just to show you. But I'm sure it's going to fit, right? There shouldn't be any problems with that. And you know what's nice about it? It buttons in the front. I don't know what that means, but that seemed to be even more comfy. That's my time. I'm leaving. I'm going this way. Over this way. I'm going. Uh-oh.
You waited. John Zimmerman, everybody. You guys need to remember that every one of these comedians today have never done stand-up before. And if this looked like fun to you, we're doing this starting next week at the Medina Senior Center. So if you're sitting there going, that looks like fun, or I can do better than that,
Thank you.
you contact the Medina Senior Center and they'll get you squared away. I don't know what all you need to show. I think they're kind of like you guys were. I think you guys are even like affiliated somehow, right?
Well, they're another senior center.
Okay.
But they're Medina County Senior and Adult Services who operates our cafe.
Okay. Well, give it up for the people in the cafe. So that's something to keep in mind. And well, I'll have one more announcement at the end, but we're not at the end. But we do have our final amateur coming up. And this is like the most long-winded introduction.
Oh,
I didn't bring you up yet.
I'm making halfway.
She's a retired medical biller, not builder, biller. I told you to print. She has 2 children, Mike, who plays bingo here, and her daughter, Michelle, who has 3 daughters, Carissa, Courtney, and Chloe. See back. I'm very family-oriented. I live with my
Catahoula.
Catahoula leopard
dog.
Okay,
She's
we have
a
to
rescue.
Google that. Named Cookie, and she loves making people smile and laugh. Now, with that information, once I give you her name, you'll know all her passwords to get in any of her internet. Because you know her kids' names, her dog's name, the kind of dog. But give it up. It's been a pleasure to work with her. Renee Kaiser.
Can you guys hear me back there, or do I need to get louder? Way back there. Thumbs up? Okay. Do I need to get louder? No. Okay. This is a joke I tell a lot. Because I go to a lot of hospital things and meet doctors, nurses, and all that, and I tell this joke, and every time I tell this joke, here's my kids. The eyes roll. Yeah, so it's like, it comes in like this. The guy, dog is dying. He brings the dog into the vet's. I'm going to put this here, just in case my memory goes. So he brings it into the vet and he lays it down. And at that time, the vet comes over and he goes, I'm sorry to say the dog's dead. The owner goes, do something. Don't just stand there and tell me my dog's dead. Okay. So he walks into the back room, brings out a cat. And the cat looks at the head, the body, the tail, and then looks sad up to the... He puts the cat back, brings a Labrador retriever out. The Labrador sniffs it, nudges it, paws it, goes all the way down the body. Another sad look. Hands it back. Goes... The vet hands the bill to the guy. The owner looks at it and goes, $550 to tell me my dog's dead? He goes, no, 50 is the office call. But for that CAT scan and that lab work... Yeah, they're rolling their eyes. Look at her shaking her head. That's my daughter over there. My son's back there. Okay. I have a cousin through marriage. Her name's Barb Wiesen. Raise your hand, Barb. She loaned me this. She's legally blind. And when she told me this, she goes, are you going to tell your blind date joke? And I went, oh. My husband's been dead 30 years. That's been 40 years ago. And I'm going, boy, that's old. So I go, okay, I'll tell the joke. So I have this, I got divorced from my kid's father, and I was a homemaker, and I had 2 little kids. At that time, they were about 4 and 5. And I said, hey, the neighbors go, we're going to fix you up with somebody, And I said, oh, I don't get out and do anything. No, we're going to fix you up with a blind date. You know, nowadays we have those dating apps. Woo-hoo. And the Christian ones are even weirder sometimes. But whatever, you know. And I go, okay, yeah, fix me up. We exchanged phone numbers, and they gave it to the guy, and the guy calls me, and we talk, and it's like, wow, I like him. He sounds really nice. And I said, since I've never been on a blind date, I'm going to go as a blind person. So I practice. And when you practice, you don't look at somebody's eyes. You look at you kind of just look. Right, Barb? You just kind of look. You don't make eye contact. Okay. So you just kind of look. And I thought, in your house, you go around, you know where the table is. You know it's 3 steps over here. You know it's 3 steps over here. And I go, okay, I'm going to do this. So the neighborhood kids all played at our house because we had the little babies, and then they grew up. So they liked playing with the kids, and they were babysitting. So they watched me practice. And I thought, my fear was, if I'm standing there, I was hoping the guy would come and he'd register that I'm blind. And I thought, the fear was that something happens over here, my eyes would go over there. Or, you know, something happens over there and I would turn, you know, and it'd ruin that blind effect. But then the other fear was, especially my son, Michael, hi, Mike, that he'd go, Mommy's pretending she's blind, you know, and that would blow the whole thing. Well, the guy comes here late. He comes in. He's 6 foot tall, so I'm not even making eye contact at all. I'm looking at his belly button, and I'm trying to act like I'm blind, and he's going, and he's nervous because he didn't get to sit down. He didn't get to register I'm blind. You know, and I go over to kids, can I use you? And I go, hi, bye. You know, you do that feeling and touchy thing. He didn't get to register, so I went, oh, my. So a lot of this really happened, but I've added different things to it now. But that's pretty much how it happened, but there was more. But since he didn't register and he was late and nervous, I said, hey, can I have your arm? I'm legally blind. And he goes, oh, yeah, you know, being the nice guy he is. He gave me his arm, and we walk out, and I go, oh, by the way, do you want me to drive? Yeah. So we get out to the car, and we're talking, and I'm waiting for them we was going to meet up at the Ground Round with the people that fixed us up. And you know how many remember Ground Round? Okay. We was going to meet in the bar. And I was waiting for him to sit down with them at the bar and go, why didn't you tell me she was blind? You know, but later I told him I was blind. And I said, how did you feel when I told you that I could see? I said, I can see fine. Well, first of all, he goes, how long have you been blind? And I went, not long. But I said, you know, so I finally told him I wasn't blind. And I go, how did you feel about that? He goes, well, I was trying to impress you. And the reason I was late is by trying to impress you, I was cleaning out my car. Okay. My husband, Jerry, my second husband, died in a car wreck. He's been dead about 30 years. So we got out there, and I said, why don't you bury him? You know, when you bury him, he was 43 when he died. And, you know, good die young, and then I'm still here. But I said, we got the stacking graves. So I said, put me face down. And they go, okay. I said, when I die, I want to be face down. And then when he goes, the rapture happens, it says we will be changed, as believers will be changed in a twinkling of an eye. But the twinkle might happen here, it might happen up here, but the twinkle will happen. But he'll come up and he'll be looking at me going, who are you? And I'm going to say, it's me, Jerry, it's me. So the last thing was last week. How many of you guys play bingo here? Oh, yeah. Come on. We get bingo bucks. You know, when you say bingo, they come and give you a $100 bill or $200 and our prize. And we get these bingo bucks. And it's like, oh my, we won these bingo bucks. And then certain times of the year, everybody brings their junk or precious things from, some are precious and some are new and some are, well, let me think what the word is. Okay, so half the bucks my son took, and he gave me the other half. my half was the $100. His was the $10,000 ones. And I said, wait. He goes, no, you got the same amount of, bills. You got 7 and I got 7. I went, So Roger, raise your hand, Roger, in case they forgot you. Yeah. He has 2 policemen come in. Do you guys hear for that? Yeah. And it's called an armored briefcase. They came in, the police presented, put the armored briefcase down, they opened it up, and there's 24 eggs. So then we bid for these eggs. My son won. Come on, give Michael a hand for winning. Yeah. Well, he won. And I'm rolling my eyes at him because he always laughed at me for bidding, So he bid and got it, and he was all happy. And I looked at them, they're nice brown eggs, and they're telling me, oh, the yolk is bigger. People are telling me how much better they are. And I go, oh, well, I'll take one. He goes, no. And I went, I just want one. Can I have one? He goes, no. And I went, just one. What's the matter? He goes, no. And he closes it up, and he moves the eggs away from me. And I go, Michael, years ago, I gave up one of my eggs for you. Oh, I don't give it to you. She does it.
Renee!
Oh, you got it.
Again, one more round of applause for all the comics. These folks worked so hard trying to put this together for you. Last thing I want to share with you, I'm not going to do much of my comedy today because we know you guys need to get out of here and you've been sitting for a while. I have a flyer up here. I'm doing a Christian comedy night March 23rd at Crackpot's Comedy Club. It's a clean Christian comedy night. I'm the headliner. You can get a hold of Crackpots in Massillon to reserve your spot, whatever you need to do. But I will be down there with a guy named Brian Atkinson and a guy named Don Ack. So if you can make it, come on by and see us. Again, if you want to take a class, Medina is going to start next week. And again, I want to say thank you to the directors and everybody here at Soprema for putting this together. And thank you for coming. And happy St. Paddy's Day.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.